on. But before we get to Title Tuesday, of course, we have a lot of drama as everybody is really looking forward to. So let's move right into the action. So let me change the scene. And here we go. Oh, do I have a sticker on my shirt? Whoops.
Andrew_T1 just subscribed.
Okay. See you guys. I even pulled out my special brand new Hugo Boss shirt for the stream because it's so important. So, all right, you guys. So we are back. Of course, we are live as always. Now you can't return. It's all good, you guys. All good. So, as I was saying, we're back. Of course, today is Tuesday, so we will have Title Tuesday starting a little bit. But first and foremost, we are going to move to cover some stuff that is very important. So let me change the scene, and here we go. Give me 1 second, and off we go. Let me change the scene. Yeah, so here we go. So first things first, you guys, we of course have this tweet from Jan and Pomnishi yesterday, which is it's sort of a tweet as a reply to what Kramnik posted on chess.com. And Jan posts, because he's the hero Gotham deserves, but not the one it needs right now. So first and foremost, the tweet was on Kramnik's profile. I don't know if it's still on Kramnik's profile. I'm obviously not going to go there and check, but it says, and let me stop the music as well so we can keep going with this. Yeah, so it says, some small new piece of statistics. Recently noticed that player had scored 45.5 out of 46 consecutive 3-minute blitz games against approximately 2950 in average rating opposite a few different players, which is equivalent to 3600 plus performance in those 46 consecutive games. I believe everyone would find this interesting. Is the audio echoey? Probably not, but I'll double check. So first and foremost, we'll start with Kramnik, then we'll talk about Nepo. That's where we'll start. So Kramnik basically refers to this piece. He says 45.5 out of 46 consecutive 3-minute blitz games against approximately 2950 in average rating opposition, which is the equivalent to 3600 plus performance. So Kramnik basically puts out this insinuation. Now, this can be taken many different ways. If we're being really generous, we can say that Kramnik's just trying to show that there are statistical anomalies online, and that's what he's saying. I don't really believe that, frankly, because as I told you guys a couple of months ago, I do know that Kramnik has already accused me behind the scenes of cheating. So that is not really in dispute. So when Kramnik puts this out, there are a couple things to point out. First of all, it's amazing how you can spin statistics in a way that looks really good for you and tries to make someone look bad. So the casual amateur player who looks at this and be like, wow, 2950 in average against 3600 plus. Now, as everybody knows, the online ratings are inflated. So for example, on chess.com, I believe my rating is currently 3300. Am I a 3300 player? No, of course I'm not a 3300 player. My rating is 2800, but there is a lot of inflation. So ratings could be anywhere from 400, 500 point differentials. And it actually shows in all the players who I played against. So let's actually just dive right into the let's talk about let's just talk about the Nepo part now first before we get into stats, because I actually was bored enough that myself and a couple of my mods, we compiled some statistics. So first, we have this Jan tweet which says, because he's the hero Gotham deserves, but not the one it needs right now. Now this is a typical Jan tweet. Jan actually tweets a lot of things that can be taken many different ways. Now there are a couple things that I have to point out about this. First of all, when we look at this, I don't know what Jan means by Gotham. Now, he could obviously, we're going to be very generous and give him the benefit of the doubt, he could just be making a reference to the Dark Knight. On the other hand, however, I would say that I do know for a fact that Jan is not a huge fan of me. He's also definitely not a fan of Levy either. So I do think there is definitely the possibility that when Jan makes this tweet, he is implying something related to Levy and content and Levy making money that he doesn't deserve. Now, of course, it is fairly ambiguous. So if Jan wants to say these sorts of things, he should just come out and say what he means to say. He should clarify what his intentions are, rather than trying to sort of straddle the line and make it where it can be taken as a joke. Or he could also be totally serious, but hiding it within the context of a joke. It's a Batman quote. The problem is the second time that Jan has done this in relation to me. There was another one related to headphones where Jan also, quote unquote, was trying to make a joke. And yet again, there's the other problem that I do know that Jan as well has said things behind my back too. So there are a couple of problems. I will react to the Eric video a little bit later on. So it's very unclear what Jan means by this. It could be related to Levy. It could be just a quote to the movie. But Jan really should clarify what he's trying to say here, rather than trying to be ambiguous and have these innuendos. So that's the first thing that I would say. So that's Jan. Kramnik's tweet, of course, it looks very impressive on the surface. Again, I know what Kramnik is doing with all this stuff. He's trying to sow the seeds of doubt, where he's just trying to point out all these statistical things based on his stats and make it look like there are all these different things that are anomalies, and of course they can't all be anomalies, so obviously there's cheating going on. That's what he's doing very clearly. So let's move to my reply now. So this was my reply to the tweet, which was, Vladimir appears to be referencing my record. Is he really accusing me of cheating? Are you jumping on this accusation as well by tweeting this garbage? Now, obviously, when I say by tweeting this, there was no need for Nepo to tweet this out. Literally no need. So it's very, very unclear what Nepo's trying to say here. As far as Kramnik, though, there's no doubt what he's saying. He's basically, again, he's going to try to say, oh, it's interesting. Doesn't mean someone's cheating, but it's interesting. But when you do this, again, I would say as far as Kramnik goes, just come out and say what you're trying to say. Stop trying to hide behind, oh, it's interesting, or, you know, there's this piece, that piece, and just say it. Because as an example, I would actually rush to the aid of somebody else who I know, which is Jocelyn. Now, Kramnik, as it relates to Jose Alcantara Martinez, the, I believe, Peruvian player. I think he has a Mexican flag on his profile, but I believe he's from Peru. Kramnik very clearly is saying things about Jocelyn, saying, oh, it's just interesting, it's just a little bit different. Again, I would say, as far as Kramnik goes, just come out and say what you mean. Now, obviously, like as far as I go, I don't think Jocelyn is cheating. I would say that I'm like 99.9% sure that he's not cheating. But again, Kramnik at the end of the day is putting these things out under the guise of saying it's interesting or it's different or, you know, it shouldn't be happening. And it feels very much like he's just trying to sow the seeds of doubt. That's what's happening at the end of the day. So, this is the first bit. Now, we are going to move on here, of course. I guess if you guys have specific questions, I can answer them. I do actually have some stats compiled, which I will be showing you guys in a second. Let me just see. Is there anything else that I'm missing? You guys have any questions before we move forward? There is a Ben Feingold tweet as well, which I am aware of. I think Ben said basically 0% chance. Yeah, I see Jose's here as well. Yeah, I mean, but see, the problem with this too is, like, for me, for example, when Kramnik says, I can obviously respond. I mean, I'm actually going to just, I'm going to show you guys that I truly am a data scientist very shortly. But I can respond to this. But someone like Jocelyn, for example, who's like 2600 GM, I mean, he's a streamer, but he's not super prominent, obviously, you know, in the world of chess. He has no real way of responding to it when Kramnik does this. It's just straightforward. Do I think he's doing it to undermine chess? I do think there are potential chances. Yeah, and also Livid asked an important question, which I was also going to get to. What's the difference between these accusations and your insinuations towards Hans? The fact, there are a couple of differences. First of all, there's the obvious difference. Hans cheated online. He admitted to cheating online. There's a chess.com report which says he cheated in up to 100 games online. Full stop. That's the first big difference. Second big difference, and I'm going to say this again, I reiterated it back then, I will reiterate it now, is that behind the scenes, there are a lot of top players who talk to each other. There are a lot of things that are said, and that does not mean that they necessarily see the light of day. You know, they don't see the light of day at the end of the day is what I was about to say, but they don't see the light of day. They say very sort of hidden below the surface and only spoken about amongst top players generally. So, I will reiterate again that there were a lot of top players who were saying things. At the end of the day, there are people who say, oh, it's me or it's Magnus. As I said back then, and I would say it again, for 2 years prior to the events of Singfold Cup, there were people saying things behind the scenes about Hans. Full stop. I'm not going to name names, and the reason that I refuse to actually name the names is that at the end of the day, when you look at the top players for all of us, whether it's myself, whether it's Nepo, whether it's Fabiano, whether it's Levon, whomever it might be, you know, we've all been playing the same set of tournaments, the Grand Chess Tour, all these events with each other for many, many years. And at the end of the day, you know, I very much do feel some sort of camaraderie with these people, and I don't really feel like it's right to throw them under the bus over this one single issue. So that's what I'm going to say very clearly to answer your question there about the topic, because I know there are going to be people who are going to say that they're going to say, like, well, you know, this is the same situation. It's not the same situation at all, just very clearly. So I do want to point that out. So that's what I want to point out first and foremost. I don't know what Jan is trying to say here. I don't know. I mean, I know Jan doesn't like me. I know he does not like Levy at all. So I really don't know whether it's about the movie or whether it's actually something more. You could take it either way. Jan can obviously clarify it at the end of the day. It's up to Jan to clarify it. So this is where we're going to start with. Now we are going to move forward. So let me change the scene, of course. And here we go, you guys. So today, in honor of Vladimir Kramnik, who thinks he's some sort of expert in data and statistics and everything, today, unfortunately for Kramnik, I am the data scientist, bish. So let's get right to the data. So here we go. Here's the data. So Kramnik basically looked at 46 of my games, you guys. He looked at 46 games, and he's basically saying that my stats were an anomaly. Now, of course, Kramnik did many things wrong. First and foremost, rather than use our actual ratings, Kramnik used the inflated online ratings to make the performances look out of this world good. Now keep in mind, in actual chess, there is nobody whose rating is 2950. Nobody in the entire world, not even Magnus Carlsen himself. So when Kramnik does that, he's inflating the rating, so he's not using the true numbers. And let's take a look at the real numbers. So here we go. We have my stats. These are the 46 games, by the way, that I played. The exact 46 games, I scored 45.5 out of 46. Now, first things first, let's look at our opponent's ratings. Now, my opponent's classical ratings are 2471, 2435, 2332. One game against Enjal, who is Hiram Akobian, 2616. We have games against a 2435, games against a 2399, and of course the last player, the Turkish legend, a kid who I think has great potential. Legend is back one. So the average rating of the players is 2421.98. So when you now see the rating, 2950 is not the average rating. The actual true average rating is 2421. So I am playing 46 games here against people who are more than 350 points lower rated than I am. So I'm playing people who are 350 points lower rated than I am over the board. And my expected score, as you can see, is 89.16%. So my score is actually very, very high to begin with in terms of what I'm expected to score, with 89.16, right? Very, very clear cut. You can also see the accuracy. Like my accuracy here, I have a couple of good games. I've got a 97, I've got a 99. I'm assuming this was probably a really quick win. But on average, my accuracy is 88.29. Okay, I mean, it's still something. I mean, it's good, but it's not like I think 92 to 95 is what you expect if we're playing at our absolute best. How does he get 3600? Because he's using my rating of 3300, scoring 45.5 out of 46 against 2950 average. So there's an error in row 44. 44. What's the error? There's an error. What's the error? I don't see the error. I don't know. Maybe there's something, but at any rate, I think you guys get the point. The point is I'm supposed to score 89.16%. Opponent error in 44. Oh, sorry. Oh, you're right. There is an error. Okay, you're right. He's 2496. There we go. Okay, so I corrected. So yeah, it goes down or it goes up. Wait, I don't understand that. But anyway, 89.04%. Okay. So it was 89.16, right? Or it was 89.16, 89.14, whatever. You guys get the point. Fact is, I'm supposed to score 89%. Now, what that essentially means that over the course of 46 games, it means that basically if I were to lose like 4 or 5 games in the middle there, that would take my percentage down to like 89%, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe even lower than that. But at the end of the day, fact is, or were there some games, probably 4 or 5 games in these 46 where I got some big swindles? Absolutely. And in fact, there is one game very specifically against Enjal, which I'll show you guys shortly, where I was getting cooked hard and I was completely lost. Now I was able to swindle it and win, but that's what it is. Bruh, I came for chess. What is this Microsoft Excel? Well, basically today I'm trying to show you guys that I'm a data scientist. I understand AI. I understand how computer engines work. And I'm going to be applying for a job at Microsoft in the AI department, along with those 700 weird people who decide to leave OpenAI. In the meantime, back to our stats. Let's keep moving along. So we of course have like, for example, if we look at this stat, now we're going to talk about cherry picking, okay? Because cherry picking is an important thing here too. So you see, like, this is what I scored, 98.91, because basically the 4 to 5 games where I was getting cooked, I was able to win, and that's that. So moving along, the next game after that win was against Legend is Back, the Turkish kid, which I lost, of course. So I lost against Turkish kid in the next game. And chat is frozen. Chat is frozen. I don't know. Maybe it is. Let me see. Chat is frozen. I don't know. Let's take it off for a second. But the fact is, let's see. So I lost this game, okay? And that takes my average down to 96.81, right? Now, if we're actually looking at the real stats, which is basically games I played on that day even, let's take a look at 56 games, which includes the games right before my streak began. So we go up to the very top here. I think you guys can see it. You'll notice that there are these games, these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games which were not great for me right before. Okay, there were 9 games right before there in which I beat Nico Theodoro. Of course, this is Kriari online by a score of 3.5, 2.5. It's a winning score, not great. It is what it is. And then of course there are 3 games against Legend is Back where I scored 1.5 out of 3. So if we factor in these extra games, and we go to the bottom, what is my expected score? The expected score here is going to be 87.65%, as you see. The expected win rate. Now, what do I actually score? I score a whopping 91.96%. So I outperformed by 4% when you actually add in all the regular stats. So again, look at this, 91% versus 87. So yes, 4% 4%, massive outlier over a handful of games. Chat is frozen. Okay, I'll worry about it later. But the fact is, you get the point. The point is, at the end of the day, Kramnik doesn't know what he's talking about. And, you know, I'm not a data scientist. We all know that. I don't pretend to be one. But the fact that I can make a basic table like this and essentially show that the quote-unquote expert, or someone who's claiming to be the expert and like finding cheating and taking up the mantle and all this doesn't know what he's talking about is a very, very bad sign, because I'm obviously not I'm not a data scientist. I don't really do any of this stuff, and all it takes me is like 30 minutes with myself and a couple of my mods to compile these stats, and you can see that Kramnik doesn't know what he's talking about. So it's just very, very weird to see Kramnik saying this. Again, I understand what Kramnik is trying to do very clearly with these these insinuations. What he's trying to do is, you know, he's going to claim that, oh no, I wasn't accusing him of cheating, it's just an interesting statistic. But, you know, it's a way of hiding behind what you're saying when you say it's interesting, instead of coming out on what you're saying, because he's going to say, well, this is interesting, Jossman's record is interesting, I don't know, someone said Bluebaum, I don't know who else are saying it's weird. But, you know, he's trying to sow the seeds of doubt, where he's just going to give like 100 stats that some people like myself can actually look them up and prove that they're just wrong, and then there are others who won't, and they'll look at it and be like, wow, so like you look at the stat on the surface, like 45.5 out of 46 against 2950, wow, 3600, so Hikaru's playing better than Stockfish, when of course we both know that's not the truth. At the end of the day, it's just not the truth. So yeah, it's definitely disappointing to see all of this. I don't know what Kramnik is thinking, frankly, with I don't understand what Kramnik is doing. He's a genius. Yeah, but also this is where I'm going to say another thing, and I know there are a lot of people in chess who there are a lot of people who like what I'm about to say. There are a lot of people who won't like what I'm about to say. You know, chess has always had this image of like, we're these great geniuses, we're super smart, we're super brilliant, we play this game, and you know, you have to be really smart to be good at this game called chess. As I've said probably 1,000 times on stream, I will say it once again. At the end of the day, you do not have to be a genius to play chess. Just because you're very good at memorizing positions, studying, pattern recognition, all these different things, does not mean you're suddenly a genius in every other field in the entire world. So Kramnik was a world champion, great chess player, someone that actually, like, you know, up until probably the last like 6 months, I had a tremendous amount of respect for, someone that I played many times. I had some great battles against him, playing in Dortmund, playing the Tal Memorial, some Petrov games, I mean, King's Indian games. I could go on and on and on. But I don't really know what Kramnik is thinking. So yeah, at the end of the day, it's very, very disappointing to see Kramnik doing this. I know, I mean, I'm sure that he's going to go back and say, oh, I was just giving a stat, like it doesn't mean anything. You know, as I said at the start, though, there is the problem that I do know that Kramnik behind the scenes has already said stuff about me. I also know that Nepo has said stuff about me. So, like, again, at the end of the day, it's very hard to take this in good faith and think that he's saying anything different. So very, very disappointing to see this from Kramnik. I mean, I really hope that he leaves it to the actual experts, the people who are mathematicians and statisticians at chess.com, who do know what they're doing. That's what I would say. Straight up, like, you know, let the people who are actually the experts, you know, there are mathematicians, there are statisticians at chess.com, let those people figure it out. That's what I have to say, plain and simple. All right, so that's the first little bit. Now, again, just also one last thing before we move on, I want to show you guys one thing. So of course, about the stats, like there was one game that I played against Enjal, which I won, but just to show you how insane this is as well, when you actually dive into it, I'm just going to go forward through the game. It doesn't matter where we get to. We get a position somewhere around. By the way, first of all, obviously, I must be the greatest cheater in the world if I'm going to get a position that's minus 1.3 on move 8. Actually, I get a position where it's minus 1.34 on move number 8. So I'm getting cooked out of the opening by Enjal. By the way, also, I think some people have said things about Enjal too. But let's keep going. So we have this game, like it's what it is. I'm a little bit worse. Somewhere around here it starts getting bad. In fact, I think I'm losing right around, yeah, around here. The evaluation, it's -3. It's -3. So again, I'm getting cooked really hard in this game by Enjal. I'm getting cooked really hard. I should lose this game. Now, obviously, I'm able to swindle him eventually. I think he plays C4. Knight takes B3 would have been winning, but we get to this position where I'm still getting cooked. It's -4.3. Makes a mistake with D3. I take, he takes, I go here. Now he misses queen G8, the very obvious move to stop the check with rook H7. super obvious. He doesn't play it. And yeah, and now he blunders, and now it's +6, but I missed a win with knight d4 when rook h7 wins the game on the spot. So very, 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 very disappointing. So yeah, knight d4, we get queen takes h3, and eventually, of course, I get the swindle, I win the game, and I move on. Now, this wasn't the only game of the 46 games where I was getting cooked hard, and I managed to get a swindle, but at the end of the day, I think you guys get the point of what I'm saying, that it's completely insane for Kramnik. It also shows very clearly that he doesn't know what he's talking about at all, because in order to do proper analysis, you are gonna have to go through all the games. You're gonna have to look at things very closely. You can't just look at accuracy. You can't just look at the result. You also can't just take the online ratings and then come up with these performance ratings to suit your needs. Thank you so much to Velvet Canyon for the 5 gifts as well. Appreciate it. So yeah, so anyway, that was a little bit. Now we're